So welcome everybody, man. Let me tell you, I am excited. I've been hanging out to interview this beautiful young lady for years, literally years, which is awesome. I've got to hang out with friends of hers. I've got to hang out with people that work for her dad, which is pretty amazing. And no doubt we'll talk a bit about that. You've accomplished so much in such a small volume of time, which is amazing. Makes the stereotype of her generation kind of looks crazy. I wanted to share something just as an intro here. I read an article in Inc. magazine and said that at 24 years old, you became CEO of the Chet Homes Corporation, which is just amazing in itself. And took over 100 employees plus, older team plus. And that is just, if anybody that knows about you and your father is that's a pretty much an amazing accomplishment. Please welcome the amazing Amanda Holmes. Thank you for
Thank
being
you
here.
so much. So happy to be here. Thank you.
Fantastic. So, Amanda, tell me, I want to get straight into it. I know we're restricted with time, but um, tell me a little bit about growing up. I'm interested to know, if you had to put a timeline together of where you are today, and just give me some milestones of you growing up and where you grew up and a little bit about that. So,
Yeah, well, so for those that aren't familiar, my father wrote a book called The Ultimate Sales Machine, which is in the top 10 most
right in
recommended
front
of
of,
all time. Yeah, I love that. We'll have to take a picture later.
yeah.
Uh, and so he had built this whole methodology for how to double sales. He worked with 60 of the Fortune 500 as clients himself and built out a repeatable process for growth that was just unlike any other. And so my father was very successful in business, but he always looked to my brother and I as he would say, I have sacrificed my life to be able to provide for you whatever you want. So whatever your thought is, if you want to be the best trash collector possible on the planet, I will support you. If you want to be a singer, go ahead. If you want to be an actor, go ahead. So my brother pursued acting for a while. I pursued music. That I had released a couple of records. I was on my fourth record, about a decade ago. So that was my growing up was just very supportive and very loving, and sky's the limit. Whatever you want to do, I support you, and just go and make it happen.
So I'm figuring the daily routine of somebody that's a daughter of somebody that's a professional speaker, obviously a business mogul in his own right, and an inventor of systems. I mean, Chet, your dad was very much liked to Tony Robbins today, and some of the great people, and so I'm figuring every day, a big part of your upbringing was in rooms, in hotels, in events, and then hanging out with kind of other people that are business owners, right? That would have been a big part of what you did as well, right?
Yeah, it's been quite funny as I've been more a part of the. I mean, I've it's been 8 years that I've been a part of Chet Homes International after my father passed.
Mm.
And growing up, I thought it was normal that stay at your clients' houses, you have dinner with their families. And as I'm on a board of a company in Missouri, and every time I show up, I'd be shocked. We'd have our meeting and then nobody would want to have dinner with me. Nobody would invite me to stay at their homes. And I thought, this is so bizarre. Why isn't this happening? And it turns out that just my father was a masterful salesperson and somebody that truly never wanted to be referred to as a salesperson. He wanted to be that expert advisor. He wanted to be the most trustworthy, loyal, somebody that everyone could lean on. And so he just created these relationships with everyone he worked with and all of his clientele to where it was comfortable. I don't know how he ever did it, where he would just invite himself to people's homes. I'm not quite sure how that happened, but so I definitely grew up with, dinners with his biggest, brightest clients. It was always a thrill for him to bring his family to meet them.
It's
So
pretty amazing. So, and tell me a bit about your company today, or let's talk a bit about the Chet Homes company today. And by the way, my purpose for this interview is just to kind of set the pace. Is your dad left a legacy? That's undoubtedly. But I'm more interested in you today. I'm more interested in knowing more about Amanda as well. So tell me a bit about the business today, and where the company is today, what you do, and maybe if you've got some other companies, I'd like to know more about now the leader, which is Amanda. That's exciting for me as well.
Thank you. Well, 3 out of 10 companies survive past 10 years. So majority of companies don't make it a decade, and especially second generation. It's a very low percentage of companies that can survive a second generation. I've been very blessed in that regard. And for companies that are trying to get to a million, 95% of companies will never make it to a million in annual sales. And then of the ones that make it to a million, 97% will never make it to 10 million. And then of those that actually make it, right, are so only the top 3%, right? And then of the 3% that make it, it's like 98% never make it bigger than 10 million. So what our systems assist companies to do is to take them from what got them to that point, right? What got you to a mil will not get you to 5. What got you to 10 will not get you to 50, right? It's a different skill set. So we assist business leaders to get to that next level of growth. And we have 12 different core competencies on how to do that. And that could be time management secrets of billionaires, right? It could be how to run an effective meeting, because 56 million ineffective meetings happen every single day. That's just in the United States. It doesn't even count what happens in Australia or around the world. Yeah.
Most of the meetings in Australia turn into something else, but I don't know. They're definitely not meetings, right? So, and we're a beer culture here, so it'll turn into something along the lines of, the pub or beers, right? That's the
yes.
Yeah, that's
It
amazing.
happens all around. It's interesting because we have other strategies like the Dream 100 strategy, which is the fastest, least expensive way to double sales. That one strategy has doubled the sales of more companies than any other. And that is usually that or our core story methodology. So how to get 9 times more impact from every move you make. And it really has to do with becoming a strategist, because a strategist will slaughter the tactician every single time, right? So around that messaging. Right. But those are the things that people normally get attracted to us to get assistance with. And then yet a lot of the time, I will give you a little insider's peek. A lot of the time management and the way that an organization is run is really where we spend our first focus, because meetings are ineffective, right? Time is inefficient. Billionaires have the same 24 hours, and yet they operate in a completely different way. So all of that training happens here at CHI, between online trainings that you can go through, courses that you can go through. I mean, obviously reading of the book is a crucial one. And then we have coaches and consultants, done for you services, all of that. So
it's exciting. How many businesses would you guys work with per year?
Well, I can tell you that over our span, since we've been open since 1991, we have assisted over 250,000 businesses worldwide.
Oh, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, 250,000 businesses.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful for that. I mean, a lot of it has to do with the fact that my father scheduled off 1 hour a week to write this book while he was running his 12 companies. And it has been able to live beyond his lifetime, and, it being one of the top most recommended. Yeah.
Okay, completely. I recommend this to all of my clients, and I've just read it again, and it was introduced to me actually by one of my coaches, and it's a powerhouse. It really is. And not because obviously you're here, and it really is. It's interesting. I worked with Mitch Russo, that obviously
Okay.
worked with, and Tom Collins, that worked with you guys as well. These are good friends of mine. So it's pretty awesome when it's nothing but great words. But I want to ask a little bit about your singing career, because I was a musician for a long time, played music for 25 years, played in bands all over Australia, which is pretty awesome. My life
Oh,
was either rehearsing or gigs, right, for years, and
wow.
my family's really musical and we're into it, and it's a passion of, I could never see a world without music. It's like it doesn't work. Music first, everything else later. So I'm interested to know a little bit about that career, and I know obviously you had to cut it short because of your dad's illness, but I'm just wondering a little bit about what inspired you to sing, and tell me a bit about that career.
That's really wonderful. I love to hear music comes first.
Wow.
That's wonderful.
And without music, I'm lost. So it's
Oh.
on all the time, like nonstop, everywhere. I walk, music's on. I'm at home, music's on. If I could do it while I'm coaching with my clients, I'd have, but
I've
distract from
actually
the coaching session.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that lately because one of the ways that I have been able to take over my father's business and continue it and work through all the limiting beliefs I had in my head or the fears that I had about getting on a call with, a Fortune 500 client and trying to close them, even though they're double or triple my age, and me saying, no, I'm telling you, it's going to work out. Right.
It's gonna work
So there
out.
was a lot of mental processes along with that. And I all the time would use I always am I try to keep my guitar within an arm's reach, right? So in between calls, like one that's been getting me really excited lately is but I do a lot of Sanskrit, so like mantras and such, like om trambakam yajamahi sugandim pushti vardhanam varkamiva bandhanam that's one that I've just been playing around with lately, but I have a whole bunch of different vocal exercises and music that I will play to just kind of get me in the zone and get me flowing. And yeah, lately I've been thinking it would be pretty magnificent to, obviously I wouldn't go that in depth into Sanskrit and chanting, but using music as a form to assist groups to elevate their mindset and their conscious, so that when they go into a meeting or they go into, okay, now we're going to work on something creative within your business, they're coming from a different headspace than just, okay, I'm in the grind, I'm in the work, I'm, just cluttered with all of the things you have to do in a day. If I can use music, I should have played one that's in English, but
It's cool.
yeah,
I get it completely. Yeah. Have you heard of an artist called Dafa Yusuf?
no.
Oh man, you got to check that guy out. So Dafa, Dhafer, and then Yusuf. I'll send you a link on him. And he's a Tunisian Eid player, so the Tunisian guitar.
Oh,
But his vocal range is just like
huh.
it's unlike anything you'll ever hear. It makes Mariah Carey's falsetto look like it's like kindergarten. It's so spiritual in nature. The sound of it is mesmerizing. And often in between clients or whatever, I'll put it on just to kind of, just let not only the tension, but let, patterns in my mind kind of move out of it, right? Because as you know, like you said, you get kind of locked in the grind. And it's interesting that, somebody at your caliber and leading a company like this also would very much use the power of music, not only to get into the zone, but also I love the idea of being able to help others get out of their mind. I mean, effectively, that's what we're doing here, right? Like, we've got a mastermind coming up, and one of the topics that I'm speaking about is using your inner voice and your gut feel, the powerhouses that are perfectly designed for you by, whatever God that you believe in. And the power of really listening in internally for decision making, working on processes every day, all that type of stuff, hiring, firing, all of those things are really important. And I feel that music is another talent that resonates at a cellular level with us. So and it comes from a totally different place, right? To create and to just to create sound is pretty amazing. So I love that. And I mean, for you, how has music evolved for you? I mean, from when you were singing to what it is today, how's that evolved for you?
Yeah, it just assists me every single day to get into a more balanced, confident, calm, clear, focused place.
Pretty awesome. I know that you've worked with, and please tell me if I'm positioning it wrong, but with Guruji, and I
Yeah.
would say that she is a spiritual teacher.
Yes.
Is that, I don't know if that's rough around the edges, but I've met Guruji. I know Dave, obviously, that studied with Guruji, is a good friend of mine.
Right.
And I know that spiritually, your spirituality is a big influence on figuring on your life. I can see what you're wearing. Tell me a little bit about that journey and how that seeps into, um, you know, the work that you're doing with the company and your everyday life and business. I'm interested about the connection between spirituality for you and business, which feel like the two totally ends of the scope, basically.
I'm actually currently working on the new edition of the Ultimate Sales Machine, and I've had this deal with Penguin for the last 2 years, and I've been working on the 13th chapter. So there's 12 core competencies for doubling sales, and I'm adding a 13th, which I really believe is the encore that my father never got to give. And it was something that he worked on very wholeheartedly in the last year of his life. He decided to try and go an alternative route to his leukemia. And um, during that journey, he started writing, he started blogging about it. And in the 2 months that he did this blog, he had gotten, it was something crazy, like 80,000 people following his blog. And there was never a point for that, right? He was just writing it was something therapeutic for him. He was also trying to update all of our family. I have come from a very big family, and all of his staff were just curious how he was doing. But it went from something that was just supposed to be for family into this, tens of thousands of people leaving comments about what he was deciding with his medical route. And it was quite wild. And I think that the reason why that was so successful is because he was just honest and authentic and raw about the day-to-day struggles he was going on with his cancer battle. And after watching that progression, and also him just trying to find a better peace within himself as he was going through something life threatening, I really, that's how I met Guruji, was through that process. We were looking for alternatives, and she said that she could cure me of celiac disease, which I said, no doctor has ever told me that they could cure me of it. They just said, stop eating wheat. The smell of pizza would make me nauseated. I couldn't go into a pizza shop because it would just make me sick, or talk to somebody with beer on their breath. It would make me ill. God forbid I actually ate any, I would go to the hospital. So she said, yes, every disease is just a disease of our minds. And if you can release that, then you could be cured of celiacs. And I happened to go to Asia and go through one of her programs, and she assisted me to cure myself of celiacs, which was unreal. She helped me rebuild my stomach lining, and that set me on this path of wanting to better understand myself. And as I went back home, and my father passed a couple weeks later, and then inheriting this company while still grieving the loss of somebody that I loved so dearly. We were so close, my father and I. And from all of that emotion, and depression and anxiety and grief, it was really my teacher, my spiritual teacher, that assisted me to get through so much of that emotional baggage and the limiting beliefs I had. I'm 24. There's no way I could take over this company. I don't have any experience in this. Why would I do that? Right. My father worked himself so hard that he was so stressed that he died at 55. Why would I step into that? Right. So it was the learning of better understanding myself, which will be that 13th chapter, which is the mastery of yourself. You can read that whole book and say, wow, there's so many great ideas. Yes, of course, hundreds of thousands of businesses have agreed, right? They've read it, they've gotten the success. But the difference between someone that reads it and someone that actually gets results from it is that one deciding factor. And that is, have they gotten out of their own way, and have they been able to master themselves? So that 13th chapter and that 13th core competency is really That's self-mastery. Can you get out of your own way to make it happen? Can you exceed
Well,
the
it's interesting you should say that. In my book, Apology, that I wrote, um, the book's based on two kind of factors, the business side of you and the personal side of you. And I think there's always two people that show up to anywhere, right? There's a yin and a yang with a force that way. And a part of one of the last chapters is about the journey of us, I think, as spiritual beings, and trying to understand why, out of all the careers that you could have chosen, have you chosen what you do, right? And all the people that you could have been with, why is it the people that you're with? And I believe that I feel that if you're content in yourself spiritually, I don't believe, and this is just the world according to me, I don't believe we need to be more spiritual. We're already a spiritual being. I believe we need to awaken to understand what we really are. It's like an engine that's got 1,000 horsepower, but the person behind the wheel only thinks it can have 100 horsepower because they're not utilizing the tool as well. So, and that's what kind of was interesting, because I know, the study you've done, obviously, I know, Dave's transformation and some of the other people that have been with Guruji about, what they've awakened, because, uh, Amanda was always inside Amanda. It's just a matter of kind of coming out, right? Which is pretty exciting. I'm wondering today, and I'm shifting gears across a few of these areas, coming back to um, knowing what you know today in business, 8 years into the, Chet Homes International. What would you have told your 8 year ago self today?
hmm, to trust myself and that I'm on the right path.
Is that it? Trust myself, I'm on the right path. Very good. It's interesting
Yeah,
how many people ask that question too, and they go, it's going to be all right. Just trust yourself. Because at the time you're freaking out, right? Like you said, you're,
right.
grieving your dad's passing, and now I've got to figure out this company, right? So,
Well, I'm looking around and I'm asking these questions and I'm trying to understand it. And, there's still that sensibility, that understanding, that I wanted the company to be something different than what it was. And if it had to survive, it had to survive in a way that made sense with me and aligned with my mission and my core values, and that was different than what my father had. So I'm in a different generation too. I like automating things. I like building systems that include, landing pages and emails and text messages and all of this, that uh, it still has the foundational principles of what my father taught as far as education-based marketing and being a strategist, but it was in different modalities and different mediums. And to change from what we'd been doing for decades was frightening. But the more that I trusted myself, and the
well,
better I've been.
seems like it's worked out all right. So it's all good, right? That's how I see it. I've got a few more questions. These are a bit sales based. So I'm just wondering, how do you think sales has changed today? There's a education platform called the internet. Our clients know more about our shit than we know about our stuff. Funny enough, I mean, I get people all the time. Oh, I really love that interview that you gave, or that podcast that you did. That, and I'm like, yeah, cool. And I've even forgotten about what the topic was. Or, they I looked this up on you, and I really loved it. And so I'm just wondering today, from a sales point of view, what you think has changed, and from a salesperson point of view, if you're in sales, whether you work for a company or you're the owner of the company, how has that changed, do you feel, today, because you're in this every day, right?
Yeah, I'll give you some stats to back up what you just said. So let's take automotive, for example. They're really at the bleeding edge of what's happening with sales. Uh, so 10 years ago, the average car buyer would go to 6 different dealerships before making a buying decision. Today, they go to 13 websites and only 1.6 dealerships. So that so much of that buying decision is now happening online. In the B2B space, the average prospect looks at 5 pieces of content before they decide to make a decision to call a salesperson and say yes, or raise a hand and say, yes, I want to talk to a salesperson. So that sales role is really becoming something where you have to have some kind of presence, some education, information online to educate your buyer. And it can either be a positive or a negative, right? So if you do educate them online, the ability to get into a sales conversation where they are primed, they are qualified, they already know, like, and trust you. If a prospect knows, likes, and trusts you, right, they built rapport with you. And if you're just able to find their need, you are 65% of the way to a sale. If you just do those 2 things. So if your messaging online can educate them and bring them, then the sales conversation can be so much easier. You're just closing another, right, 35% of the way. That's all you have to do if you set up your online sales funnel to do that. However, if you don't have anything online, you're missing out on a dramatic opportunity, right, that every other competitor is doing. So what are you doing to preempt your competition when you're educating online? What are you doing to get the attention of an entire buyer's pyramid? We have a breakdown in chapter 4 about the buyer's pyramid, getting not just the 3% that are in that buying now category, but the 90% that aren't thinking about it, think they're not interested, and definitely not interested. So there's even I just went to an event for the top 1% in automotive sales. So the top salesmen in automotive across the nation in the United States just this last week, and seeing how salespeople are branding themselves, the honest car guy, the Dr. Phil, they're giving themselves a brand to be able to set themselves apart from everyone else as a salesperson, so now you're not just having an organization that has a brand, you're having people that are branding themselves because of the influence of social media. We just have to build brands today. It's
not just about Ford, right? It's not Ford or Chevrolet. It's actually the person within that is the brand themselves. That's pretty awesome. So how do you feel that the languaging has changed in selling? Before it was kind of used car salesman, and it's that, hey, disrespectful to women. It's that I'm a sales guy. It's always, I feel like the amateurs just do it really badly. They're the same question, hey, can I help you, if they're walking into a storefront. With that, I'm just wondering how you feel that that's changed. To me, it feels that the top guys are much more courteous, already understand a lot about the product or the service that they're offering, have a conversation rather than talking down to somebody, respect the person because they already know, like you said, 13 websites online already. They know about the product. So I'm just wondering if this is what you see. I'm wondering how you see the languages change. And today, especially if you're selling a high-end ticket, like most of my audience are, in the construction game, building, especially, they're selling houses here. They have medium house prices higher probably than the US. Average house here is 580,000. Apartments are 800, 900,000, $1 million plus. And here's these people that are builders, but now need to compete with, not compete, that they're competing in a platform that is not about the building side of it. It's actually about the sales skill set of that person and the educated customer making probably one of their biggest decisions ever. Wedding and buying a house and having a baby are probably 3 big ones, especially in Australia. We're very, very house cultured, society per se.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's there's 2 different fronts. So 95% of consumers feel pressurized and feels that salespeople are too salesy. So we're feeling a high pressure there. And then you have millennials where, the biggest buying market right now for housing is millennials now, right? I think it was 2 years ago, they superseded the baby boomers. And what they want in a house is fairly different from what a baby boomer wants in a house. And they're a generation of two different things. One, 76% of millennials feel personally responsible to make the world a better place. So they're looking, are you giving features that are eco-friendly? Are you, what can we do to give back to society? Are you being helpful in society? They care about these things, whereas it wasn't really an intrinsic character trait in, let's say, baby boomers, right? They also want to make so much more of their decisions online. They'd rather chat with somebody on social media for a while before they actually say, okay, let's meet up or let's have a conversation. So a lot more personable. They also, their generation, millennials are a generation where they trust a blogger on the internet more than the 5 p.m. news, which, you say that to any millennial and they go, well, of course, who can trust the news, right? but then that's a generational shift, right? Because baby boomers, they rely on
The
the
six
news,
o'clock
right?
news, yeah,
Like,
they're
why would I,
still, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Why would I trust some random blogger? Who
Yeah,
knows who
who's
that
the
could be,
blogger?
right?
Yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah.
interesting you should just say that. It kind of sparked a thought process for me. Um, I'm a baby boomer, so it was all about the pedigree of the builder. What have they done? The bigger home, forget the eco-friendly part, the aircon, all of these things. And then that's at some level still in me. I would never even with me, my buying decision wouldn't be necessarily on a blogger. I'm a bit old school. I've got to meet the guy, touch, feel the house. It's all of that. So that's an interesting shift. And correct me if I'm wrong here, it feels that it's more about the character and the value set of the company and the person themselves rather than the end design slash bricks and mortar product, right? That's kind of the shift that we're seeing here. So, and to me, I feel that the world is starting to strip away the layers of bullshit. Back in the day when your dad was CEO, it was the jet, the Ferrari, and the money sort of thing like that. All those photos with Dave Van Hoos special. That's what I kind of call it, right? All of those. But today it's the CEO that helps homeless people or sleeps out at night to show that they care. Is that am I in the right sort of category of how things have changed from a sales slash the CEO perspective?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, it's interesting how that's a shift like that, right? So I'm
Well, it's
aware of
also
time.
that we're
So
seeing we're seeing more of your life behind the scenes than ever before,
correct.
right? Because of social, and they want to see that you're a good person.
They want to see that you're real at the end of the day, I think.
Yeah.
Um, two more questions. What do you like doing when you're not working? What does Amanda do when she's not working?
Lately, I've been really enjoying playing more music. Yeah, I've been working on a new record, which I hadn't come out with a record in a decade. So,
Fantastic. And for you, what's your top two or three inspirations? What lights you up? What says, hey man, I just love doing this, or I love being in this space? Or for me, I was a part of Genius Network, and just being in a room full of cool people like that, um, pushing humanity forward. That's how I feel it was. Is it's That's a happy place for me. Another happy place is hanging out, with my kids with the ski boat, water skiing, just barbecuing with my
yeah.
friends. That's really really big for me as well. Those two things I really live for. I find it almost an obsession. Like, hey, when are we organizing the next picnic for? Like it's a bit like that. So I'm wondering what it is for you, Amanda.
I do think that it's the impact and the difference that my clients make, right? So like, for example, I was just in Austin, Texas, and I went to a random networking event and they announced that, Ultimate Sales Machine. And I had a lady come up to me, Better Self Co., Better Self Company, and all of her products are to assist you to become a better version of yourself. And she read the Ultimate Sales Machine and then went, oh, wow, I need to implement this. And it changed her life. And she created these book series where it's a book to help you reach your best of goals. And she sold over 1 million copies of this book.
Oh, wow.
Over 1 million copies. And it's a 13 weeks of how to get your goals, right? That's amazing, right? She read the book, it changed her life. I just got off of the phone with a gentleman. It's one of the largest children's dentists in Southern California. And normally dentistry is in the top 3 biggest fears for people. They don't want to die, they don't want to divorce, and they don't want to go to the dentist. It's like top 3. Okay.
Yeah, I can put my hand up for the dentist, but it's worse than tattoos.
Yeah. So Super Dentist is what his company is. They've been voted #1 for the place where all of the children in his geography want to go. The #1 place where children want to go over the amusement parks in San Diego and such. So for a dentist to have that kind of love of their students to come to it, right? And he just won 9 different marketing awards, and we were part of assisting with that, which was really amazing. So seeing that he's shifting people's lives, right? The health of your mouth is crucial. It's actually, I just heard from him earlier today that you're 9 times more likely to die of COVID if you have oral health issues, because oral health has been tied so directly to lung health that it's a crucial thing that nobody's talking about. The health of your gums and of your mouth is a direct link. So he got a bunch of press just over COVID. So to see him making that difference, I mean, I could sit here for hours and talk about all of our clients and what they're doing.
That's another one of my obsessions, seeing my clients win. So it's and the effect that it has on their families and their workers and their workers' families. For me, it's interesting. I've got a philosophy of, if I can help 10,000 businesses, it should affect 1 million people, directly or indirectly, as it goes out. So that's kind of one of the missions. So it's which is pretty cool. So I love it. I love it. I mean, I feel you're very similar to me. We're built to serve others, and we find joy in helping others. I'm really clear. For me on this planet, it's to serve another human being to the best of my ability. So I find that that's why I get up every day. So it's just kind of cool. Amanda, where can people get in touch with the company, and how can they learn more and or possibly
Yeah.
work with you guys? And we'll put this in the show notes and stuff. So
Yeah. So I put together a 3-part video series on the 3 strategies to help you double sales. And it dives deeper into the fastest, least expensive way to double sales, how to get 9 times more impact from every move you make. Those are all in the video series. And if you go to ultimatesalesmachine.com, so it's the name of the book, ultimatesalesmachine.com. Yep. That's where they can get that 3 video series. And then if you are on social media, I think the place where I play the most is on Instagram. And my name on there is not Amanda Holmes. That would be lovely. Instead, it's Amandita. It's my salsa name. Yeah, Amandita Holmes. So
Amandita Holmes.
I hang out there, so you can come and say hello to me there.
That sounds fantastic. Amanda, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's enlightening to speak to such an amazing woman. And you're holding the torch high, and man, millions of people have undoubtedly been affected by your father's legacy originally, and now you're holding the torch to that next level. I really thank you for being a part of this, and I've got no doubt that my audience is going to get a lot out of it, and we're recommending the book as much as we possibly can. So
thank you.